Sahana vavatu sahano bhunaktu sah viryankaravavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Statement I am God, for want of word we refer it as experience, because there is no other word. But strictly speaking, it is not an experience, because when we use the word experience, it has certain implications in that. So to escape or to avoid those implications, we have to use a different word. But the most popular one is this word experience, anubhava. This experience, when we say, it is having certain implications. What is the implications? Number one, experience is always in the realm of duality. And experience, number one, anytime you say experience, it is in the field of duality. So we cannot use the word experience here. Then experience also has a limitation. It has a beginning and an end. Every experience has a beginning and an end. No experience lasts forever. Everlasting experience, as a statement, it is possible. Grammatically correct. But you can never bring it into reality. See, so experience has the flaw, the defect of the other one we have is this is not everlasting. The third problem we have with experience is all experience implies dependency. The objects were dependent on the I to be perceived, to be experienced. The I is dependent on the mind for it to function. The mind is dependent on the intellect for it to interpret. So if intellect is not backing the mind cannot function. If mind is not backing the I cannot function. If the I is not there, there's no color, there is no form. Imagine a world where there is no eyes. Organ called I is not there with anyone. No one knows. Then what would be the color of the rose? For you to experience that color, rose, it is dependent on the equipment I, body. So each one is dependent. All these experiences were equipment based, equipment driven. The moment you say experience, it means equipment driven. The moment it is equipment driven, dependency comes into picture. Then finally we ask the question, intellect is dependent on what for it to function? That's where we use the word consciousness. Intellect also being an equipment cannot be independent. Then we ask the question, how do we know the consciousness? Yajnavalkya says, consciousness is self-effulgent. Swayam-Prakasha. So, the independent consciousness enables the dependent intellect for it to function, and then the dependent intellect enables the mind, which is again dependent on the intellect, to function. Thereby all experiences happen. But you cannot use either the I or the mind or the intellect to experience consciousness, which is not possible. So therefore we ask the question, then how will we know consciousness? To which the Upanishad says, it is Swayam-Prakasha. It is self-effulgent. And for that we have given a name. That's about it. Pure consciousness. Prajnanam Brahma. Just a name, remember. Don't take it literally, those words. It's just a name. For everything you need to give a name, isn't it? Without giving it a name, how will you refer to? Whatever we see in the world, you have to give, first thing we do is what? We give it a name. Corona, you got to give it a name for you to refer, isn't it? The virus doesn't come with the name Corona, Omicron. Now you have to, we give it a name for us to refer to that entity. That entity is different, the name is different. Similarly, that consciousness is different, the word consciousness is different. Now we are discussing, now can you do away with words? Not possible. So therefore what to do, sir? Don't give any word. No, don't give any name. Which is again name only, no? Without any name, can you have God? You can say, you cannot give any other name. There is one name, which I have given already. You cannot give another name to God. But if God were to be nameless, absolutely, then how will we refer? There is no reference point for us. So for us to get a reference point, we were using the word consciousness. So that is the aphorism, Prajnanam Brahma. From there we move to the next one, Tattvamasi. And then finally we reached the point of Anubhava Vakya, which is Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. I am God. Now that's a statement of declaration, remember. In Vedanta, knowing is being. There is no gap. If you know, you be that. You become it. You become it means not that only now you had become. You were earlier also, you are the same thing. Even before realization also, you are Brahman only. So before you are Brahman, now also you are Brahman. Then what is the only difference there? Now you have come to know that you are Brahman. So the master proclaims, Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. You are always that. So strictly speaking, like we keep asking this question, sir, I know so many things in my life, but I am not able to live it. I am not able to practice it. I know that I should do so many things I'm not able to do. I know that I should not do so many things, but I'm forced to do. I'm tempted to do it. What is it? Like Arjuna asks Krishna in the Gita. Something which is forcing me into it. Krishna, what is that? To which Krishna gave a beautiful explanation. Kama yesha krodha yesha ajoguna samudbhava. This is kama, krodha, desire and its modifications. That is Arjuna. Now, what is desire? Whenever we use the word desire, what you have to understand is ignorance. Ignorance is the cause. Since ignorance is the cause, the solution is only knowledge. So with knowledge, what you do, you understand. After that, what is to be done? Nothing to be done. You just understand. That's it. It's like gives a beautiful example of a man started believing himself to be a worm. One fellow got into this belief that he's a worm. So he got so scared to come outside the house because the chicken will come and eat him up. That was his fear. Right? The roosters will come and eat me up. So he is so scared to come out of the house. So the relatives took him and put him in the psychiatric treatment. 6 months of treatment. 6 months as an inpatient, he was taken, admitted in the hospital, and he was treated by the doctor. And every day the doctor will come and bring out very many pictures of the worm and keep showing the pictures of the worm and his picture. See that picture, see your picture. See that, see this. See that, see this. Is there anything which is resembling this and this? Is there any connection? There's no connection. That is different, this is different. That is different, this is different. All this is different things. Now you understand that you are not a worm. He said, yes, I am not a worm. So he understood that. And the doctor is so convinced. And the doctor called his family members and said, you can come and take him back. So they came and they finished all the patient, the settling the bill and all that. Yeah, that's what they were going on. Huge bill, 6 months, imagine. Right, very big bill. And they had to settle the bill and all that. And after settling the bill and all those things, and this guy is very rare for that hospital to see someone getting cured and going out. So the hospital had a special, party sort of send off. They're all giving a send off to this man. All the attendants, accounts department, and this pharmacy department, and the kitchen department, the cleaning department, and the assistant, psychiatrist, and the chief doctor. They were all there, giving him a send off. He shook hands with all those people, and the fellow was taken to the portico. The car was waiting. He got into the car, and the car took off. Just about, just clearing this portico. Suddenly, that man asked the driver to stop the car. He said, I just want to have a clarification. Just as quickly one clarification with the doctor and come back. Just a second. He just rolled down the window and called the doctor. Doctor, and he turned back. He said, yes, what? So just have one, small clarification. He said, anytime these people say that, I have a clarification, trouble. The doctor said, oh, what is it? So he understood. He said, sir, don't worry. I don't have any problem. Of course, I know that, I am not a worm. I am a human being. I don't have that doubt. I know fully well that I am not a worm. But my doubt is, does the chicken know? His doubt was that. He says, how do I ensure? See, I know I'm not a worm. I'm a human being. But if the chicken were to think I am a worm and starts pecking me, what do I do? Well, no, legitimate question, no. And the doctor said, fresh admission. Another 6 months of, fresh admission. That's the condition for us. He says, I am God. All of us will read that portion and say, yes, sir, I have understood that I am God. But then, nothing will enter now. In this portion, nothing will go in, actually, here. Because this is the fundamental problem of us. All these Vedanta students suffer this melody. It's a basic problem. You can't escape. Because all of us were so convinced that I have to know, I have to do, only then result is. In this subject, I know means problem solved. After that, what is to be done? Nothing to be done. After that, you just live your life, full stop. But then still we do find people having this issue. That is where we bring in the distinction between lot of people who take to this path of knowledge. Vivekananda says beautifully, his summary of Jnana Yoga. He gives. There's a series of lectures of his, and then he gives a summary of Jnana Yoga. In the summary of Jnana Yoga, he just concludes the whole thing by saying, in this path of Jnana Yoga, which is also not a direct path, which is also an indirect path, he says. All paths are indirect, he says. No path is direct. All these paths are indirect paths. But in this path, one may come to an understanding. Many come to understanding Vedanta, but very few realize it. So he recognizes this truth, the fact of our problem. I know that I am God. At least after reading this entire portion. That's why he spends about 14, 15 paragraphs are there in this one topic. I am God. One topic, 15 paragraphs. He spends to explain it. After reading the whole thing, what is the final one will be? We'll say, we have understood, sir. Because if you know English language, anyone can follow what is written there. Strictly speaking, even if I don't explain these paragraphs, you will still understand it. It's not something like, if I don't give an explanation, you cannot understand. That's not the case here. As a trial, you should do that at least. I would love to do that. Just read these paragraphs. Do you have any problem with non-understanding? Is there anything that you are not able to understand from this paragraph? Is there anything causing confusion to you? A class may cause a lot of confusion to you. That is possible. But this paragraph will not give you any sort of confusion. Because I have given this to people. Only this extract of this portion I have sent to a few people. Just a scan we do, no? Somebody asked some questions and all that. To that, I sent this. After reading this, I would have sent at least to about 7, 8 people. None of them had got back to me with, sir, can you explain what is this line? What does this line means? Okay. How many of you have got any question from the textbook? I'm assuming you are all keeping the textbook when we are reading. When you read the book, it is almost impossible for you to have any confusion. There's no possibility of a confusion here. And that's where the success of the author is. The success of an author is to communicate so clearly, no ambiguity. See, you can have a different opinion. That is not what we are talking here. Okay, you may carry, sir, I don't agree with him. We are not concerned whether you agree with him or you don't agree. Who cares? The author is not going to be, he's not there with you to say that, I don't agree with him. So what? So, okay, you agree with him. So, when you read a book, remember this, any book for that matter, I'm not talking about only this book, any book for that matter, the point is not whether you are agreeing with the author, you are not agreeing with the author. Unless the author has invited you to call for a comment. Can you just evaluate my book? Then you can say, I don't agree with you, man. This is not the way it is wrong. This is not correct. Your explanation for this idea is not correct. You can point out. Now, nobody asked you. The idea of you picking the book is you don't know, you believe reading this book can give you an idea. Instead of giving you an idea, does it confuse you? Or it gives you the notion of clear understanding. The success of an author is in providing you this, what I call as delusive notion of clearly understood self. Why I call it as delusive notion is, if you have understood means you should have become. If the becoming is not happening, if the being is not happening, if there is a gap between your being and your understanding, what you claim to have understood is not understanding. It is not knowing. Then what is it? I don't know. But that's not knowing according to Vedanta. In Vedanta, if you know, you get it. So here, remember this example. This is the example. The notion of this psychiatric fellow. I know that I am a worm, but does the chicken know that I am not a worm, I am a human being? He starts with what notion? I am a worm. After reading, after going through the entire process, he comes to an understanding which he claims that he has understood. Do you call that as understanding or a delusive notion still? Still he has not understood. What do you call him? It's the same position for us when we are reading this entire portion. I am God. Right? That's what he is giving now. Highest one he gives. And he knows we cannot stand to this sort of a position. So he comes to the second aspect of realization, enlightenment. Right? The first portion, first dimension, which is the highest dimension, is this. You know, you become. Brahmavit, Brahma eva bhavati. Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. He said. The knower of Brahman becomes Brahman. So you say that I have understood I am God. That means you have become God. After that, there is no point in discussing anything. Now, what is your understanding of God today and all is a different notion. That is a different inquiry. But if you say that I have understood, that means you had become. Since we cannot understand that, he finally concludes that with certain characteristics. He gives certain manifestations of enlightenment. How that enlightened personality, that Jivan Mukta, will be living his life. Few characteristics he takes, because his behavior is perceived now by us. So from his behavior, we can understand certain things. We can infer certain things. But essentially, that is not the point. The essential point is this: realizing that I am God. Okay. Now with this, we will read the paragraphs now. Right. First 3 paragraphs. I am God.
I am God. The entire humanity uses the pronoun I to indicate one's individual personality, to mean either the waker, dreamer, or deep sleeper, but never to mean the real self, Atman. Everyone is hypnotized to believe oneself to be a finite, limited being. In such a hypnotic state, it becomes extremely difficult to drive home the idea that you are not what you believe yourself to be, that you are the supreme self, that you are God. You reject the thought as absurd, something impossible. But the truth remains, you are God. You must realize the truth, discover yourself. The affirmation, I am God, is not the same as affirming, I am Indian, I am bachelor, I am tall, etc. These statements are fundamentally different from declaring yourself to be God. The words Indian, bachelor, tall qualify the subject I. Indian is one thing and I is quite another. So are the other qualifications, bachelor and tall, distinct from I. They are properties, attributes belonging to I. But the affirmation, I am God, conveys something different. The word God does not qualify I. God is not a property, attribute describing I. The statement, I am God, is not the same as I am Indian. The statement means I and God are one. Examine the analogy of the rope and snake. A boy mistakes the rope for a snake. He is caught up in an illusion. He states the snake is 6 feet long, 4 inches thick, black in color. You declare the snake that he sees it just a rope. The statement of the boy is fundamentally different from yours. The boy's statement that the snake is 6 feet, 4 inches, and black is similar to the statement, I am Indian, I am bachelor, I am tall. The length, breadth, and color are properties of the snake, but the word rope is not so. Rope is not a property of the snake. The rope is not separate from the snake. Snake is rope. They are one, the same. So too, when you declare I am God, it means I and God are one, the same. God is not an attribute, property. You are God. I am God, Brahman, the supreme reality.
We keep using this word I constantly. Somewhere they took a survey in identifying most used word in the world over phone. And they said it is this word I. I is the word which is used most, it seems. I. Every time when you use the word I, what is the meaning you give to the word I? The meaning that we give to the word I is the height, weight, color, age, and then certain emotions, good, bad, indifferent, is a very nice person, is a very bad person, is full of jealousy, or you say he is very intelligent, or dull, knowledgeable, wise, etc. All these things, what you are referring to, all this belongs to the body, mind, intellect. The height of yours belongs to your body. The weight of yours belongs to the body. Color of yours belongs to the body. You are not the body. If you are not the body, then why do you attribute these properties to you? I am this, I am this, I am this. And that's why he gives a fascinating example. A classic example he gives. Very good example. The snake is described by the boy as the snake is 6 feet long. The snake is 4-inch thick. The snake is black. The snake is coiled. And you give a description, the snake is rope. The snake is black. The snake is 6 feet. The snake is coiled. The snake is 4-inch thick. And snake is rope. The last statement, the snake is rope, is not describing, is not to be taken as one of the properties or the qualities of the snake. Rest are all properties and qualities of the snake. Then what is that? The rope hood is the real nature of the snake. In fact, we'll say the snake is nothing but rope in reality. Therefore, we say the snake is rope. The snake that you are experiencing, that illusory snake that is seen by you, is nothing but rope. Now, that is what he is giving here. Because people ask these attributes and the qualities of the jiva, the individual, I, and ask, how can you be God? Isn't it? Look at you. What is your quality? You are a Alpa Shakta. God is Sarva Shaktiman. You are a Alpajna. He is Sarvajna. How can you be God? That's an impossibility. But the problem is what there is, you take the qualities of that jiva to be these properties. What Vedanta says is, no, in reality, the snake, you are nothing but Brahman. That is the difference here. So essentially, if you strictly analyze what is Vedanta saying is, I am I. Imagine somebody were to make a statement, who are you? I am I. That's all it is actually. Strictly if you see what is Vedanta saying, it is saying something like that. Because you are Brahman, na? You means Brahman. So therefore replace Brahman, you with Brahman, I with God. If I am God, then what? I to be replaced with God. Therefore, God is God. God is God. What is your problem in that? You'll say, correct. God is God. There's no problem with that. But how can you say I am God? Again, you go back to the same problem. So that is why we say this statement. This is for you to contemplate. This is for you to pause, think, affirm. It is more of a statement of nididhyasa. Not even for your manana, we say. This is more of your nididhyasa, where you keep affirming to yourself. This is not a statement of communication. I am God. It is not a statement of communication. This is not communication. This is how you affirm to yourself that essentially you are God. But the problem is you have given so much of value to that attributes and believe those attributes to be you because of association. That's an ignorant association. This unintelligently you have been attributing it there. You have been hallucinating yourself to believe that. That's what when a person asked Vivekananda, "Are you not hypnotizing?" He said, "No. For you cannot hypnotize a person twice." You know that. If a man is hypnotized, again you can't hypnotize him. Second time hypnotize is impossible. He says you are already hypnotized. How can I come all the way from India to hypnotize you? I have come only to dehypnotize you. He says. You have been constantly saying, I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect, I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect. Constantly, every moment to moment, every experience of yours, you are confirming and asserting it to yourself that I am this, I am this, I am this. At least theoretically, at least as an experiment, do it. Like Vasishta says to Rama, assume that you are a Brahmajnani and live, he says. You have assumed you are Jivatvam and you are living. No. You have assumed yourself to be this Jiva and you are living. All the time saying is, assume yourself to be Brahman and live. No. What difference does it make? Just an assumption. That's okay. It will be assumption only. But this assumption gives you this, that assumption gives that. Then you make a choice. Which assumption you would like to go along with. So he says, beautiful example he gives. I am tall, I am short, I am this, I am that. All these attributes you are giving to yourself, they are just properties. Attributes belonging to you. That is not you. That is not you. It is your body, your mind, your intellect. That means your body means you are the owner, you are the possessor. Body is possessed. How can you say possessor and possessed one and the same? That's not possible. Therefore, we say you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the intellect. That is manana, reflection. Now, if I am not the body, if I am not the mind, if I am not the intellect, what am I then? That is where Vedanta comes into picture. That's where Upanishads come to our aid and say, you are God. Claim that. So every time you say, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, you have to say, I am not the body, I am God. I am not the mind, I am God. I am not the intellect, I am God. Keep repeating it. That's what he gives. And there is a difference between I am tall, I am short, I am fat, I am this, I am that, versus I am God. Recognize the difference in that statement. If that statement were to be of a different type, then the consequence of that statement, the impact of that statement also will be different. Is it not? I hope you are all following. If the statement is different, the impact of that statement in you also has to be different. No? How can it have the same impact? Like we say, learning happens much better through your mother tongue than any other language. Why? For kids, let's say they say insist on teaching mother tongue. Reading, writing, speaking, and all that we are teaching in them. Why we teach that in that language? Why it is referred? Because the moment the language changes, the impact of that also changes in you. Same way, the very statement is totally different. Then what will happen? The whole thing will be different. Continue.
What a hypnosis has overthrown the human mind. Every single individual in the world believes himself to be anything other than the reality. People consider themselves to be man or woman, good or bad, brilliant or dull, etc. None would even entertain the thought that one is God. And yet the stern reality remains that everyone is God. You are that eternal being, Brahman, not this assemblage of matter you have assumed yourself to be. Vedanta roars this truth, that you are God, bids you to pronounce this audaciously. I am God, Aham Brahmasmi. But the people of the world are timid, hesitant to admit the truth. They dread the thought of losing their individuality and dismiss the very idea of a human as God. They would rather cling to the world and suffer. Strange, but true. You denounce your intrinsic sovereignty and court slavery. Vedanta tirelessly appeals to your good sense to renounce your false life. Do not shy away from the truth of life. Hesitate no more. Get hold of the reality. Take charge of the kingdom within you. Be your sovereign self, the King of Kings, the Supreme Lord. You have then gained all that there is to be gained in life. In the Old Testament, Moses is said to have fallen into this state of slavery. Walking in Mount Sinai, he encountered a serpent and trembled at the sight of it. Just then he heard a voice say, "Hold that serpent." It was said to be the voice of God. Moses hesitated. The voice insisted he get hold of it. He plunged and held the serpent. Instantly, the serpent turned into a staff, and the staff worked miracles. Moses touched the rock with the staff, and fresh water gushed forth from it. When the Israelites were fleeing for safety, the Red Sea stood in their way. He again used the staff. No sooner his staff touched the sea than the waters parted and dry land appeared before them. The Israelites passed into safety. Similarly, the inner voice bids you drop your ego and regain your supreme self, but you are terrified at the thought of discarding your individuality, your personal identity, mortified to leave the comforts of the known and plunge into the unknown. You would rather indulge in the pleasure of your senses than trade on the treasure of the self. Your inherent ignorance is the cause of your trepidation. You must get over this ignorance and gain the knowledge of self. Embolden yourself to overcome the ego. Plunge into the self fearlessly. Smother your selfishness. Assert your divinity. Your supreme self unfolds itself. You become the supreme Lord.
Why we are not asserting is explaining now. So to hear that I am God and all looks so nice in the classroom, but then the moment when it comes to actual assertion that Aham Brahmasmi, to catch hold of this knowledge, Vedanta, is so dreadful, so scary that is. That part is so scary. Why it is so scary, why it is fearsome, is because you fear losing your individuality in the bargain. You have to. And you know that you will lose your individuality. But the beauty is, you will lose your individuality, but instantly you will gain the totality. But our problem is, sir, first give me totality. In that totality, I am willing to dissolve my individuality. That is not possible. It never works that way. You see, it's like a child saying, first make me an IAS officer, right? And then I will study for IAS. Give me the experience of what it is to be an IAS officer for some time. And the beauty is this, one IAS officer was telling me, it takes at least about 12 years for us to understand what it is to be an IAS officer. After becoming an IAS officer, it takes that much time for us because it is so complex. We just think, it is just a, governance, we think, just a casual one. Governing a country. I think so, it is so simple. How much of implications of every decisions of theirs. We say delay, red tapeism, this one, that one, and all that we say. But then it has a lot of implications. No? That's where the problem is. See, why we are not going to agree to this is because of this problem of losing your individuality. Why you don't want to lose that individuality is because you have heavily invested on that individuality. Since you have heavily invested there, how will you just give it up? Is it possible? Can you just simply give? I don't know how many of you have heard of this homeless billionaire. Have you heard of him? Homeless billionaire. There is a billionaire. He is actually a billionaire, but he has no home. Why? The entire earnings of his, the whole thing he has given to the country. And we are proudly putting in the newspapers that this year we had 5.8 crore people have filed their income tax returns. Total population is 135 crores. Filed itself is only 5.8. I don't know in that how many were nil returns. I know one nil return in that. You know, just like that, you just file the returns. One I know. How? Just give no. Why? You just cannot do that. What is the problem now? Heavily invested. Your investment is so heavy on that. Giving it up is so difficult. Now, on your individuality, you're so scared. That's where this Old Testament, episode he shows. Fascinating episode that is. A snake comes. Suddenly a snake comes and hisses. That cobra comes and hisses in front of Moses. And some voice says, you see that? He doesn't even know God. He is not searching for God. He has not asked God to come and help him on all those things. God wanted to work through this man. In fact, God needed Moses more than Moses needing God at that point of time. That suddenly is one voice. At least if God comes in front of him and says, hey, catch hold of it, man. In Chennai, there is a snake park. In Chennai, Gindi. If you next time when you go to Gindi, see, there is a children's park is there. Just adjacent to the children's park is a snake park. In that snake park, every day evening, they have a timing, but that's a time they feed the snakes. And they feed the snakes. Those men will be, of course, those who are attending to them. They will take that snake and put it around their neck, and they will be holding it. They are all non-poisonous. None of them are poisonous snakes. They're all non-poisonous. They will be holding it, and they allow the public to touch the snake. I don't know now they are doing it or not. I don't know now it is happening. I don't know, but you can check it out. And you should see these people. They know 100% that it is a non-poisonous snake, and it is trained already. It's not a wild snake or anything. It is a trained snake. It is domesticated. The snake is already taught what you are supposed to do. Right? It's been trained already. That snake, all that you have to do is what? Just touch it. That's enough. And you should see people getting so excited, so scared. I've seen some of them, close their eyes, turn this side and touch. I don't know in what way that is going to make any difference. Turn that side and touch. What are you trying to achieve in that? Now here, there is a snake suddenly comes in front of him, such a long snake, 10 feet snake that is, standing in front of him with poison. And some voice comes and says, catch it. Come on. Yes. Hold it. This is, a very popular one. He plunged and held the serpent. Swamiji goes on saying, simply plunge it up. Simply plunge into it. Just plunge and see, what happens. This, keeps telling all of us. Simply take a plunge. See what happens. Hey, what? Simply take a plunge means what? Like Moses, catch hold of it. This thought of renouncing your individuality is dreadful. The idea of renunciation is so scary. Because of that, what we are doing, we are not asserting our reality. So that's what he's explaining here. Even though this is your real nature, why is it that we are not taking the plunge? Why we are still living in that hypnotic state, in that hypnotized condition, and we are happy in that hypnotized state, and in that self-hypnosis we are comfortable in the sense, even though you will be saying there is problem, but still throw no, that we will not do. You'll say, sir, with the problem you tell me what to do. Like Ramakrishna Paramahansa gives one of my favorite story. Of course, many stories are there like that. This is also one of my favorite. A crow picked up, a dead rat. Picked up a dead rat and started flying. Suddenly, that crow found lot of vultures started chasing it and attacking it. Now that crow is trying to take a flight, left, right, nothing. A point came where the crow got so tired and scared, it dropped the dead rat. All the vultures went away. After that, none of them chased the crow. And Ramakrishna Paramahansa says, that's what life is. As long as you are carrying this dead weight of your individuality, you will have to face the vultures attacking you. The knocks and shocks of life will come and attack you. You cannot escape. As long as you are carrying this notion that I am this body, I am this mind, I am this intellect, I am this limited, restricted, constricted, small ego. As long as you believe in that limited self, you will face this prosecution. You cannot escape the chase. And whatever you do, they will outrun you. However skillful that crow can be, in the crow world, that crow can be the Olympic gold medalist, but in no way near the vultures. An ordinary vulture can easily outrun the gold medalist crow. The sufferings of yours, you will not escape. You have to drop this idea. But the problem is what he is explaining. Even though we suffer all these problems, but still we get scared to drop it. Why we get scared to drop it? Exactly like that crow, we all go to the spiritual masters and ask, sir, your job is to teach me. Don't ask me to drop that dead rat. Teach me how to escape the vultures. That you teach me. I will still hold on to that dead rat. But you train me in such a way that I can. A crow can never become a vulture. Not possible. But we want to escape only that. And we all go to God only with that idea. We all want. And those who are promising you to train, you fall for it. That's all. It doesn't matter. All that we want is promise. That's about it. Nobody asks for the proof. A promise is given, no. Enough for us. A promise is more than sufficient for us to fall for. We are so naive. So naive. Vedanta says, roar. Develop that courage, he says. Drop that selfishness. Drop that investment. Drop this notion that it's a snake. Just catch hold of it. That snake will transform itself. You don't have to transform. See, Moses was still Moses only. Moses didn't change. Moses continued as Moses, but the snake only transformed into the staff. And all the miracles he could perform using that staff, the rod of Moses, he says. He touches the sea departs and gives away. What a power. He just touches the rock, water comes. Fascinating stories we see. Unbelievable miracles. Of course, no miracle can be believable. All miracles are unbelievable only. But then this, say, how is it possible? From where he got that? Just wake up. Say, have you not read this Gulliver's Travel? Childhood. You have read, no? Gulliver's Travel? The ordinary fellow. And he goes and his ship meets with an accident. And he lands on an island of Lilliputans. And the Lilliputans got so scared of him and did what? They brought all that ropes that they had, they tied him to everything. And he was still sleeping, or he was unconscious. And when he regained his consciousness, he just wakes up. All that these people have used to tie, all that ropes gave away. They tried, no, band by band, the hair they tied him, the hands, they tied his legs, his body, nothing to, he just gets up, that's it. Everything disappeared. All the shackles break. He says, just wake up like that Gulliver. You're still sleeping. Then you are still sleeping. It is. All that you have to do is what? Wake up. That's the teaching here. He says that realize means what? Wake up. We'll see in the next class.